Before we start this video, guys, and by the way, I'm doing this video obviously with the black horn rims on, the glasses, and of course I'm doing that to let my eyes kind of breathe for a day. I gotta tell you guys a quick little story. I know you guys saw the thumbnail and you're thinking to yourself, wow, this guy here, Kash Patel, I didn't, some of you guys may have actually seen him. He was on that Amazon documentary, Plot Against the President. But I want to tell you guys a quick little story, all right? Because this kind of sets up what you're about to see in this video. In the late 1920s, the Soviet Union, they were having a bit of a, let's just say, they had kind of a conundrum of who they wanted to actually lead the country. Of course, Lenin was dying. He preferred someone like Trotsky, but Stalin ended up becoming the leader. Now, a lot of you guys may know about the story of Trotsky and how he was eventually exiled. What a lot of people forget about was this whole another character by the name of Sergei Kirov. Now, guys, most of this right what I'm telling you is speculation, okay? But don't worry, I'll leave a lot of links in the description box, including the full clip that we're going to be responding to, because I think it kind of sets up what's actually going on here. Sergei Kirov was viewed as a potential successor to Stalin. Now, like I said, it's mostly speculation, and of course, a lot of it's conspiracy theory. Kirov dies, and then shortly afterwards, Stalin then eventually launches the Great Purge. Now, many people in the Soviet Union and many historians believe that Stalin actually had Kirov killed. So that way it would give him the excuse to actually go out there and perform these purges. Now, we all have heard about the, let's just say the affidavit. You know, of course, it's been redacted. Of course, you've got these images here, and you see that everything's been blacked out. And by the way, I did make a video kind of responding to what Biden said about going after right-wingers and why it was I think that it could be a possibility of three separate things. That video will be out on both channels later on this afternoon. This video right here will be out after that one because it's kind of a long video. And of course, you guys, make sure you guys pay attention in that video right there too, because I'm kind of picking up on the same exact vibe here with what happened in the late 1920s. Now guys, the thing that you have to understand is this right here. Going after former President Trump for supposedly documents that apparently have been declassified, it just seems like a bit of a stretch. But obviously the current administration, the current regime wants to lock up the previous president. They want to go after his actual voters and his support base. So I got thinking about this. You see, the DOJ is saying that they're not going to do anything until after the midterm elections, which, by the way, could be the truth. But then again, though, who the hell knows? I wouldn't be surprised if they changed their minds. And you've got people like Tim Pool out there saying that Donald Trump should go ahead and announce that he's running for president in 2024. Me personally, I don't tend to get political advice from somebody who's politically homeless. The thing is this right here. The thing you have to understand is that they haven't just gone after Donald Trump. They've gone after people around him. George Papadopoulos, Michael Flynn, who else was? Oh, that's right. They arrested Roger Stone. They locked up Paul Manafort, which I think is a completely different case. They've gone after a lot of people around Trump himself, including Steve Bannon. Contempt of court, charging him for a year. By the way, Bannon is still on war room pandemic. He isn't even in prison. And the idea, of course, is to charge these people in Washington, D.C. in what would eventually be what we call a kangaroo court because, let's face it, Washington, D.C. is like 97% registered Democrat or 97% left-leaning voters. So the jury pool that you would get from that actual section of the country, that actual city, would more than likely, regardless of how good the case is for the president, they would more than likely turn right back around and they would actually find him guilty anyways. Basically, the indictment's designed to keep him from being able to run for president in 2024. We may go deeper in this because a lot more information has came out that maybe the Obama administration basically laid the steps to this before he left office, which, by the way, that right there is a completely different story on his own. So then you get this guy named Kash Patel, who magically, in the redacted report, his name continues to come up in the redacted affidavit. Now, guys, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this right here sounds to me not like trying to get the president directly, but trying to get the former president through his actual age, getting a hold of them, making him flip. Now, guys, the reason why I led with the story about Stalin's purges is that one of the things that Stalin was doing was he was using kangaroo courts to get people to confess to crimes that they had not committed. So let's go ahead and roll this. This right here was Kash Patel on Tucker Carlson, I think 2 nights ago. Very quick clip. Don't worry, I'll leave the full one in the actual description box of this video. And let's just go ahead and kind of analyze what it is that we're seeing.
Supposedly justifies the completely indefensible FBI raid in Mar-a-Lago has been redacted because you don't have clearance. You can't see it. But one name that is prominently featured, not redacted, is that of Kash Patel. He's a former chief of staff at DOD from the last administration. So immediately after the affidavit was released with his name unredacted, Peter Strzok, maybe the most famous FBI agent in modern history, tweeted this directed at Kash Patel, and we're quoting, "Never great to see your unredacted name in a search warrant affidavit. Get a great effing criminal defense lawyer, you're going to need it." So here you have permanent Washington threatening someone on Twitter. But that's totally cool because Orange Man bad? Like, what? So we thought we would like to speak to Kash Patel himself. He's president of Kash. I would be very concerned about a tweet like that from a lunatic like Peter Strzok.
Well, you know, Tucker, as a former national security prosecutor and as the lead investigator for Russiagate, my investigation that I ran with Devin Nunes is the reason Peter Strzok got fired, along with 16 other FBI officials, including Andy McCabe, Lisa Page, Comey, and the like. And their corrupt cabal is back, being escorted out the door, as you just reported on Friday. So the corruption continues, and their bias and their hypocrisy knows no bounds. But of course, they're shameless. As a former national security prosecutor, and Peter Strzok, as a counterintelligence head agent, knows that American citizens' names in search warrants are supposed to be redacted. This DOJ, with the same leadership that authorized the Russiagate, is now back in charge, had gone in to intentionally lift a redaction of just my name and then redact the next 7 consecutive pages. It was totally for political purposes. They don't care about the threats to my life, the racist message, and the hatred I see every day now, because they are publicly advertising for me to fail, to go to jail, and to be harmed. And here's another thing. The FBI did this, ended the investigation saying, even though they had credible evidence, we could go no further.
It's just beggars belief. So one of the highest ranking officials at the FBI is threatening you on Twitter. Where's the current FBI director to call Peter Strzok and say, hey, you can't do that because you eliminate all public confidence in this agency when you do?
Well, the current FBI director, Chris Wray, was the FBI director when we ran the Russiagate investigation, and he had the opportunity then to expose all the corruption at the FBI, and he failed, and he's been covering up since. Look, we said since the beginning, we got out 60% of the documents for the Russiagate investigation. 40% remained. President Trump declassified those specific documents, and this entire raid on his house, I believe, was to prevent the disclosure now that the government gangsters are back in charge of their corrupt activities from Russiagate on down, because now that they have an open FBI counterintelligence investigation, they will shield any release of documents because they will say we have an open investigation. Congress has a lot of work to do, and I'm glad whistleblowers are coming forward. They need to be doing so in droves.
This behavior is just so over the top. The next time a prominent critic of the FBI has kiddie porn found on his laptop or fentanyl in his car, I don't think anyone's going to believe it's real. That's how corrupt it's.
Peter Strzok actually deserves a separate video to talk about that entire situation with him and Page. Now, guys, before we talk about the FBI agent, and of course how it is that this country is not exactly very good at doing Stalinistic tactics, I'm going to kind of give you this little bit right here from Steve Turley. Let's go ahead and roll this. It's about 2.5 minutes long. I suggest you guys watch the whole thing.
How is the FBI responding to this framing? Well, as you probably saw yourself, not very well. Somebody thought it'd be a good idea to leak a picture of classified materials scattered on the floor at Mar-a-Lago next to a box of framed Time magazine covers. It appears rather obvious that the FBI was hoping that most people would look at the photo and think that that's the way Trump stored top secret information. Unfortunately for them, the New York Times, of all places, is reporting that it was federal agents that scattered the documents on the floor, not Trump. The byline of their report explicitly states that federal agents arrayed classified materials on the floor at former President Donald J. Trump's Florida residence for a photograph. The Times article then went on to say, quote, the folders were arrayed by agents at Mar-a-Lago after being removed from what the filing indicated was Mr. Trump's office. They were not discovered scattered on the floor, according to 2 federal law enforcement officials. In other words, once again, the FBI is lying. To the extent that this photo intended for people to think that President Trump treated so-called top secret files in such a cavalier fashion, this photo is a lie. It's deliberately deceptive, and for some bizarre reason, they thought that such a leak would work in their favor. But as it turns out, the joke's on them. If it was indeed the FBI mistreating top secret documents in the very way they were accusing Trump of doing, it all turns out to be a massive cell phone. And as a result, the photo ended up as the butt of ridicule on social media. Greg Price tweeted out, the top secret Mar-a-Lago documents were so secret and earth-shatteringly important that the FBI agents dumped them on the floor and took pictures of them for their Blue Anon friends in the media. President Trump himself took to Truth Social to respond, saying, quote, terrible the way the FBI during the raid of Mar-a-Lago threw documents haphazardly all over the floor, perhaps pretending it was me that did it, and then started taking pictures of them for the public to see. Thought they wanted them secret. Lucky I declassified. Well, you could say that again. And what we also appear to be seeing here is that not all agents are on board with this. The Washington Times is reporting that a number of whistleblowers from inside the agency are coming out and revealing how FBI Director Christopher Wray has completely lost control of the agency and he must now resign. The bombshell.
So, yes, you've got members of the FBI turning on one another, saying, look, guys, we can't go through with this. You're exerting political bias. You've got all that stuff right now wrapped up in one. As I said before, we're not exactly good at doing Stalinistic or communistic tactics. A lot of the people who believe that they're actually communist are really just flat out idiots and morons, and you're actually seeing this incompetence come out right now. You see, guys, one of the main reasons why I don't think Trump will ever be indicted or arrested is because the people who are trying to indict him and arrest him are flat out freaking morons. Okay, so Peter Strzok sends out a tweet after seeing Kash Patel's name. Now, Patel has been on Charlie Kirk. He's been on several places, several YouTube channels, saying that he did not believe Trump will be indicted or charged. I kind of tend to agree with him. And the reason why I agree with him is because maybe Patel kind of already knew what was about to come. Now, go back to what I was saying at the beginning of this video. All right? You get people to roll over on other people. You charge them with stuff. You get them to, let's just say, confess to crap they did not commit. So let's go through the list one more time. George Papadopoulos didn't roll over. Didn't really have anything. Who else? Now, Paul Manafort, they got him on something else. He eventually went to prison. Roger Stone. They got him, locked him up temporarily. He didn't roll over. There was nothing there. He didn't actually do anything, so guess what? Eventually he had to go. Steve Bannon, a year in contempt, but yet he's still out on a pandemic war room. Is it possible that maybe they don't plan on indicting the president per se unless they absolutely have no choice but to do so? By the way, this right here would lead to an epic backlash of monumental proportions. The Democratic Party would find themselves, even without fortifications, even with fortifications, being voted out of office and basically dying as a party because people will view them as, let's just say, the party that stomps on people's constitutional rights, which, by the way, people like myself have known this for years, but it now took this period in time for people to begin to wake up to it. Is it possible that with Strzok sending that tweet out, is it possible that maybe the idea is to go after anybody and everybody who was in Donald Trump's circle, including Kash Patel, who, by the way, was one of the attorneys that worked on the Russiagate ordeal, who, by the way, was one of the ones who helped to prove that Russiagate was, in fact, a hoax? Is it possible that their tactic has changed, and now what they want to do is go after those who worked or served in the Trump administration, which, by the way, they have already done before? Is it possible that this right here is the way that they plan on charging the former president? You see, it looks to me like they're telegraphing this move. We got a 60-day window to charge him. We're probably not going to charge him. But what we can do is we can go out there and go after Kash Patel. By the way, Kash Patel hasn't done anything that's criminal, so you're probably not going to get anything. He's the next in the line of many Trump people that, quite frankly, have stood in the opportunity, have actually been stood in the way of getting to the president himself. Hope Hicks was another example. You see, you go out there and you try to get these people to roll over on the former president, possibly lie. This is a Stalinistic tactic that Joseph Stalin used. Also, Adolf Hitler used it as well. By the way, guys, at some point in time, I may start doing projects on a separate channel, which, by the way, will be connected to this channel here, where I talk about famous theories, conspiracy theories, things that were later on proven to be true, history, things that makes it. We may do that. I'm going to take some time, of course, when I go to New York to kind of think about things, kind of get my mind right before I actually come back and focus on the days to come. But I figured I would throw this out here because I think it's very, very possible and maybe even likely that what's going on here is that they're trying to simply charge anybody and everybody who worked in the Trump administration itself and trying to get them to roll over on things or maybe confess to crap that quite frankly did not happen. I just figure I would throw this out here. Guys, John Claymore here. This video right here and the video answering to what Biden was saying the other night in his rally, they will both be out here on John Claymore late this afternoon, right around 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, shortly afterwards. I will also have the same video about what Biden said on Gear Issue 33. There'll also be an updates video on that channel later on tonight. Okay, guys? So, guys, if you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.